Welcome to another episode of Singapore's Real Estate Explained, brought to you by the JNE Investments team. Today, you have two of us. Grace and Jervis are not around. They are in Hawaii. But we are here to bring to you another interesting topic that we'll be talking about. Right? Yeah. But of course, before we go into that, recently we have been speaking to a lot of our clients who maybe are in the market now. Either it's their first home or maybe they have a few options or not too clear what is their options about, or even a few options that they have on hand, but really not too sure what is best for them.
Yeah.
That's where they actually approach us, and then we are just very happy that we are able to objectively share with them our opinions and then give them a little bit more clarity, right? So if you are in the same situation, please feel free to reach out. We won't bite. So you can just scan the QR code over here, and then we'll have someone to reach out to you and speak to you more. All right? So without further ado, come, let's debunk one of the myths. What myth do we have today?
I think today is a very interesting myth, and it's probably something that is also on the mind of a lot of people. Yep. Buying near school, or rather being near school, will make me more profit, right?
Yes.
I think it's something that a lot of our clients that come to us and speak to us, they also have this consideration of buying near a good school.
Correct.
And of course, we always share with them, a little bit deeper whether buying near a good school, right, will actually gives them an extra edge or not. After all, sometimes buying near school, you kind of have to pay an extra premium as well.
Correct.
So it's always a question mark whether the premium that you pay, is it something that you can reap a better reward out of it at the end of the day?
Correct. So I think a lot of people, when we hear it's like, wow, buy near school buy like near CHIJ I Tong confirm make money. So we're like, okay, let's go and take a look. And then the research is quite I would say surprising, not surprising. So yeah, we're just happy to share more with you guys. So of course, before we get started, right, I just want to share a little bit about this context of school proximity. Why people talk about school, like the 1 km and all this, like what is this all about for people who are not too sure about it, right? So just to share, for P1 registration, this is more for primary school. Because secondary school is based on your own results really, right? So P1 registration, this one is where parents will kind of need to register for their kids to get into a primary school. It's not by merits, not really. So that's where the whole balloting process will come in, right? So registration, there is your phase 1. Phase 1, you have basically a sibling or someone that's already in the school already. So it's straight away going, no balloting. Then that's where phase 2 after that come in. 2A, 2B, 2C, that's where balloting comes in. Yep. So there's also, I won't go into too much details, but basically from phase 2 onwards, there's all the balloting. Why the 1 km comes in is because within the balloting, there's also priority. Yep. So the number 1 priority is Singapore citizens living within 1 km of the school. Okay, so that's why everybody, when talk about school, it's like, needs to be within 1 km, needs to be within 1 km. Yeah, because all the popular schools within 1 km already into ballot. After ballot, after the slots get taken, your second priority, third priority, all this no more already. Yeah, so that's basically the context. And then of course, the homeschool distance-wise, apart from that, for parents who are looking to stay around there, there's also a minimum requirement. Not like I buy, then tomorrow I can register already, and then like after I registered, I can move out straight away. That it isn't like that . So basically, before you register for the school, the family need to be staying there 30 months before you register for the school. Okay, after that, you still need to stay another 30 months. Wow. Then you can move out. So essentially 30, that's about 5 years already. Yeah, so that's why a lot of people will say, homeschool, and a lot of people, maybe for own stay buyers, family, they are looking for a good school, right? That's where they'll commit to a longer horizon. Yeah, okay. And also one caveat that we want to share, this research, right, I will say it's more for like investors looking purely just to buy an investment property with school for investments. Okay, investors but if you're a family genuinely looking to stay there for the school, for example, one of you is an alumni of ITONG and then you want to stay there, okay, then this one most probably might not be applicable. Of course, we will share a little bit about the premium that people are paying now, but this one really will speak more to the investors looking just for pure, invest and sell kind of thing. Yeah. Okay?
I think also the fact that, if let's say you are like looking for a place like nearby for your children's schooling, right, then kind of no choice, right? But of course, at the end of the day, if let's say you're buying a house just for like investment purpose and it's not really for your own children's own stay, then maybe you want to look deeper beyond just having a school. And of course, we will show you as well, what does the market transactions actually show us at the end of the day.
Yes, correct. Okay, so we have done some research, look at some market thoughts. Maybe Evelyn, you want to share with us what are some of the thoughts we have found?
I think there's always like in any opinion, there's always like two schools to it, right?
Yeah.
I think online, people always say that buying nearby school is definitely a good choice. And in fact, some people would think that you are able to buy, you're able to sell even higher. So like, for online opinion, some people will say that about 5% to even 20% higher than similar properties that is situated slightly further away, right? And then some people are also really optimistic that if let's say you buy a property that is like nearby a good school, there's a very high chance that your property price will always go up. And it's something that is tried and tested for many decades, as you can see what people shared online.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think whether to buy to invest or even rent out is always good lah. Then of course, sometimes opinions online is something that we can also find out a bit more. But if you were to read more online, right, you realize that there's always people saying A is good, B is good, C is good, and sometimes there's already a question mark, right? Which one is actually the right one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay, then we also saw, of course, that's the
Other side.
good one, and then you have people who also in the forum sharing that, of course, data is inconsistent because it really depends on many other factors, right? And then when it comes down to school, also sometimes it's just a financial trap because you're overpaying. So this is where these articles are sharing that actually, if you are primarily using school factor as one of the main consideration, this is where a lot of people would kind of like a common pitfall where people would pay that premium, hoping that you'll go higher. So kind of like a situation where you pay higher and you hope you'll go higher. Yeah. So these are some of the sentiments that we have found. Okay. So let's dive deep into our research. So the number one kind of comparison that we did was we compare new development with new development, one that is near school and one that is without a school. How did they actually perform? Okay. Right. So first one we have in the Hougang area, we have Rosyth Primary School. I would say one of the popular schools in the northeast area. Then we have a comparison between Affinity at Serangoon, which is definitely within the 1 km. And then we have another one, which is called Riverfront Residences over here. Yeah. So within the same catchment, and then it's just basically the schools itself. Launch date was about the same also, I think in 2018 when they were launched. Okay, and you can see actually the growth-wise for Affinity and Riverfront. In terms of the PSF growth, you can see actually Riverfront outperform Affinity, even though it's further away from the school. Okay, percentage-wise, it's about 31%. And then let's look at some transactions that we have. If we entered at 2018 at the same price, 1.2 mil, right? Affinity would gain roughly about 280k, but for Riverfront, about 450. So I put the tick here to show you this is within 1 km lah. This one. Okay? Maybe Evelyn, you want to share with us another few examples that we have looked through?
Yeah. So I think the other one that also very popular school among buyers in today's market is actually Nanhua Primary School at Clementi side. So some of you may know that there's a couple of projects within the Clementi MRT, and also some of these condos are actually within 1 km, while some of it are not actually within 1 km. So over here, we actually have Park Clementis and Claiborne that is launched within a quite similar time period, where Park Clementis is actually 1 km from Nanhua and Claiborne is actually not 1 km from Nanhua. In terms of project size, I think both are actually relatively quite a decent size project that could attract families there, right? So if we look at the transactions and also look at the growth-wise, you can see that for Park Clementis, the growth-wise is actually better as compared to Claiborne. But then again, if you compare, how much better it is, right? Then speaking, it's only about $40 PSF more. Yep. All right. So yes, if let's say you bought Park Clementis, you could have potentially gained slightly better compared to maybe someone to enter to Claiborne. That's not really 1 km from Nanhua. But that doesn't mean that, Claiborne couldn't make a decent profit. I think the gap over here in terms of profit may not be that wide lah.
Yes, correct.
Whereas for the transaction wise, you can see that, for the same price, you could enter into like a 3-bedroom at Park Clementis, or you could even enter into Claiborne that is not within 1 km from Nanhua. And assuming an exit at the same timing, right, you could see that for Park Clementis, they actually make a really great profit, close to 600k, right, in just 4 years. Also, Claiborne is not too bad. You actually made a profit of about 500k. And I think if I had the chance to earn 500k and I couldn't get a unit at Park Clementis, I would still go for the 500k, right?
Yeah, correct. So for this one, this is a case where Park Clementis nearer to Nanhua made more. But in this example, actually, you see, okay, 100k is quite significant lah. But the question is, maybe if I only have a 1.6 million, I could only go into Claiborne instead of Park Clementis, but I'm still able to make about 500k. So it's not too bad as well. So they didn't make significantly a lot more in this case.
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Then now we have another one, that Pei Hwa Presbyterian. So this is a comparison between forward and key residences. One is freehold, one is 999 years. So none of them are 99 years. So we just want to take a look, especially for key residences. I think apart from no school, a lot of people are talking about key residences. No MRT, bus stop is like what, 10 minutes?
I think we walk like 15 to 20 minutes to the bus stop.
To the bus stop before you start your journey. So you can take a look at how they actually grow back then. Right? So for them, you can see, of course, forward launch a little bit higher than key residences. But if you take a look at the PSF growth itself, it's actually not too far of a difference. Right, 530 and then 477 per square foot growth. In terms of percentage growth rise, is 28% versus 27%. Right? So if you take a look, actually for forward and key residences, one entered at 1.8 mil key residences, one entered at about 1.9 mil, but the profits that they make was only about 30k difference. So does it really mean, again, for new launches versus new launches, does it really mean that near school confirm will make? Again, not necessarily. We have seen examples of like one resale without school make more, one with school make more, and then here we have like a comparable kind of results.
I think at the end of the day, buying both projects, as long as the entry price makes sense, you still have the potential to make profit.
Yes.
But to say that, the one that is nearby school will definitely make much more, I think that's something that, the transactions has shown us that the gap is really not that huge. Even a project that is not near the MRT, right, they could also make a significant profit with the same purchase price as well. So I think it's weighing out, what are the options that you have at the point of your entry, what units are available to your choice. And then from there, we actually make the choice of, which unit can gives us a good potential growth.
Yes, correct. Okay, so key is the entry price. Later on, now we'll share with you in a summary. Okay, but so now that we have compared new launches and new launches in the same time frame, the second one we want to take a look at is, okay, now I have a new development that is not like new development that is not near school one. But then of course you have all the other resale that is near school, right? So people, if school is the only factor, then wouldn't resale make a lot more than the new development? That's why we go in and search a little bit more lah. Okay, so number one example we have is St. Hilda's Primary School, which is at Tampines area. So that is where we have our favorite treasure at Tampines over here, not within 1 km. But then surrounding, there's a couple of resale condos that is actually within 1 km. So you have Waterview, you have Q Bay Residences, you have Alps Residences. Age-wise, it's not too much of a difference. I think Alps Residences is about 3 years difference, Q Bay is about 7 years, and then Waterview is about 9 years. All right, so that's where, again, we're going to compare Treasure at Tampines, their PSF growth as compared to the other three. Actually, if you take a look, right, their PSF growth for Treasure at Tampines is actually the highest. Right? So surprising, right? Surprising. 322 323 in terms of per square foot growth. Percentage-wise, of course, because they enter slightly higher than Q Bay and Waterview. That's why you see a percentage 25. But I would say comparing to those near St. Hilda, they actually did quite well. Okay, so looking at the transactions itself, you can see Treasure at Tampines entered 2019 or entered 2019 and exit at 2023, right? You will see things like for Treasure at Tampines, 300 over 1,000 of profits for a 3-bedder. And then for Alps, Q Bay, not so much. Waterview, just maybe outperform a little bit only. Okay, so same thing. This is when they were able to enter at similar pricing. Treasure at Tampines, they again had the price advantage, entering 1 million at 1 million while the rest is selling about 1.2, 1.1. I think that's their advantage lah, right? For Treasure at Tampines. Okay.
And so to address one of the concerns for buying a brand new development that is not near any good school as compared to your resale, there's extra advantage of being near school, right? I think a lot of people has a concern as well that, hey, am I able to perform as well as this resale or even compete for demand later on when we exceed, right? But at the end of the day, it's really what's the quantum price in comparison to your resale pricing, right? If let's say, you're one of the better, more affordable choices in the area, chances is that your demand will still be as strong as compared to those resale that have better within 1 km from the school, but the pricing wise is on higher side.
Yes, correct. Yep. Okay. So so like what Evelyn said, basically really goes back down to the price, the entry price itself. We have to take a look at that, right? Okay. Then next one, we talk about the west side. Maybe Evelyn, you want to share a little bit for Nanhua again? What is the comparison?
So just now we have Clavon and also Park Clementes as a brand new. So right now we are looking at a brand new development for Clement Canopy. When they were first launched, and they are actually not within 1 km from Nan Hua. And in comparison, you have like Triling, which is 99 leasehold, that's within 1 km, as well as 100 Trees, and also Park Condo that is freehold, that is also within 1 km as well. So naturally, in this area, people tend to compare the condo, whether they are within 1 km from Nan Hua or not, and then kind of understand a little bit more whether in terms of competitiveness later on when they sell, can they compete with this resale that's within 1 km, right? So you can see over here in terms of the growth wise for Clement Canopy, from the day of launch until they achieve their TOP in 2021, they actually grow by about $253 PSF, right? Overall, if let's say we look at the PSF growth percentage, right, it's about 18%. If let's say I would compare to perhaps a leasehold Triling, the growth was only about 12%. And the highest growth over here is actually Park Condo at 21%, but in terms of PSF wise, it's about $259. So if I want to say Park Condo actually grow $6 extra, right? But if let's say I'm looking at investment opportunities back then, right? And Clement Canopy is the units that's available to me. Then speaking, you could still make a decent profit out of it. It's not necessary that, we must buy something that's within 1 km just to make the same amount of profit.
Correct.
So if let's say we were to look at transactions where they enter at the same timing and also exit at the same timing, you can see that Clement Canopy is able to make about 300K in a period of 4 years, right? Whereas for other condo like Trilink, 100 Trees and Park Condo, their profit-wise is actually not too bad as well. So for Trilink, slightly lesser at about 160K. 100 Trees is about 280, very close. Whereas Park Condo actually much better at 380K. So the thing is that we can see over here, Clement Canopy is not to say they earn the lease over here just because they are not within 1 km, right? So if let's say we were to compare the pricing over there, chances is that we can see the quantum pricing for brand new units at Clement Canopy is actually quite comparable compared to Triling as a resale, for example.
Yes.
Or even 100 Trees that is slightly older. And of course, Park Condo is slightly more expensive at the point of time.
Correct. Okay. Right. So after that, we went a little bit more central. We talked about Fairfield Methodist, right? Near Dover area, I would say. So that is where, again, we have another favorite, Normanton Park, which is not within 1 km of Fairfield Methodist at all. Again, no MRT and everything. And then we have One North Residences, Dover Park View, and Heritage View.
Yeah.
So for them, these are, I would say, the gap in the year is slightly bigger, right? For One North Residence, it's a difference of 14 years. For Dover Park, it's a difference of 26
years.
Yeah, about 16 about 16
Yeah.
About there. 26
2023 minus 1997.
26 years difference, Dover Park View. Okay, and then you have 23 years of Heritage View. Yeah, so quite a long difference in terms of the years. But then again, because Fairfield Methodist, I would say, is one of the popular schools.
Yeah.
That's where people will consider this resale at that time. Okay, so that's when we take a look at the growth for Normanton Park versus the rest. So you can see actually upon launch, right, Normanton Park per square foot was actually one of the highest amongst these, because the rest is about 1.3K, 1.5K. But the per square foot growth is actually the highest. They have about 424. And then in terms of the percentage growth, it's about 23%. So I would say Normanton Park, I think number one, I guess age of the development could play a part in this. But then again, if someone is really considering Fairfield Methodist as one of the school factor, then this would really be one of the considerations. So a lot of people will be like, hey, last time quite cheap, I can buy this. Why should I go and buy Normanton Park? Wouldn't this be more can hold my value better? That's when we go and see, right? If you take a look at all the transactions back then, 1.5 mil, you could buy Heritage View, Dover Park. One North Residence is a bit higher, on the higher end, right? About 2.1 mil. But you can see actually for Normanton Park, even though you enter about 1.667 mil, you are able to exit about 383K profits.
Yeah.
So it's quite significant. Of course, you compare to Heritage View, Dover Park, and One North Residences, it's actually sitting at a very good place. So again, the question is, if you have a brand for these cases, right, a brand new without school versus resale with school, which one hold value better or which one give me more gains? Again, not doesn't mean near school means confirm a lot of gains. Again, the question, that's why we were saying at the start, right, the caveat is these are for people who are holding for short term.
Yep.
This is like exit in 3 years, 4 years kind of thing. So if you are an investor thinking about what to buy next, what are your options? Should school be a real factor that I should look at? This is something that we are prepared for you, right? Whether school should really be part of your main consideration. Of course, there are other factors. Again, right now, please, if you want, please scan the QR code. You can reach out to us. We'll have someone to run through the factors with you. All right. So last but not least, we want to share a little bit more. So we compare now all different developments, right? Recently, I don't know if you have heard, like for audience, some development, right, they will tell you, hey, this one 1 km, this one not 1 km. Yeah, like within the same development, there will be some. So that's why we went to this research also. Same development, right, but only a certain blocks within 1 km. Does these certain blocks really
perform better?
That's why we go and take a look. Okay, so before that, I also want to share this 1 km, right, there has been some changes. Previously, the 1 km is counted from the center of the school, right? But in 2022, there's actually a new measurement now. The 1 km actually starts from the border of the school. So that's why after 2022, there were certain developments that suddenly became within 1 km of the school already. So I will share some of these examples later, right? So this is just some background info of this 1 km and the new measurement. Okay, so number one, we take a look at one of the more popular schools that I mentioned just now, Ai Tong Primary School, right? Upcoming Thomson Reserve. Everybody talking about Ai Tong, right? Yes. So Ai Tong, Jadescape, right? So previously, this measurement was based on before 2022. So you see over here, in the center, they draw the 1 km. So if you notice, right, Jadescape, right, is actually out of the 1 km previously. But after they redraw, the line became this way. So only these blocks, which I'll share which blocks later, are within the 1 km. Okay. So then we take a look what is the pricing. So during launch, this was before the whole change of the law, right? So all of them are not within the what you call it?
1 km
the
radius.
1 km radius. So if you take a look, really, because there wasn't much difference, you can see actually, so block 10 and 12 are actually within the 1 km after the change. Block 6 and 8 is not. So you can take a look, right? Actually, the difference between the floors, right, like 18th floor to 18th floor is about 29,000 only. And then if we compare maybe 13th floor over here, block 10 and 12 versus here, so I plus another 24,000, assuming 8K per jump. 8K per jump for stack 33, sorry. Yeah, then the difference would only be maybe about 55K or 100 plus K. So the difference actually is not too much of a difference back then. Okay, so this was before the whole change. After the change, that's where we go and take a look. Now that there's change, right, is there any difference? So block 10, again, is within the 1 km. Block 8 is not. You could see in 2024, actually, there is not much difference. The difference was only about 40K. And this was because it's a higher floor also. Okay, then we take a look at 2025. These are all the ones within 1 km. You can see the difference actually is again not too much. 6th floor, 8th floor is about 8,000, and then 5th floor and 3rd floor is about 55,000. So I would say they are not really transacting at a way higher kind of transactions or volume or whatsoever. Really, even after that whole change, right, it really didn't make much of a difference.
I think this change is definitely great news for parents who are really looking to send their kids within 1 km, right? Kind of open up a lot of more home choices for them. But if let's say we look at like investment purpose, we can see over here that even though your unit becomes like within 1 km, it doesn't necessarily translate to actual better growth, right? At the end of the day, because I think buyers, when they come into the development, especially those who are not buying for own like a 1 km kind of reason, right? Most of the time they're just going to compare, what's the last transaction, and I'm just going to offer that kind of price. And yes, you can, sometimes sellers can say that, hey, my unit is within 1 km, etc. But to them, it's not the reason of why they buy this unit. They are not going to offer that kind of pricing. So that's why for these kind of reasons, sometimes the growth or rather the price difference for 1 km blocks that are within 1 km and blocks that are not within 1 km, it may not be that strong.
It's true. So really, that's where you have to match according to your buyer's demands lah. Right? Okay, next we talk about St. Andrew's School. Flynn?
Yeah, so you have Woodleigh Residences, which is a very popular condo as well. And of course, you have a St. Andrew's School, which is also another very popular school within the same area, right? So you can see over here, some blocks are actually within the 1 km radius, some of the other blocks are actually out of the 1 km radius. So again, we want to see, at launch, is there any price difference between these blocks? And then as of today, is there any price difference as well? Okay. So just for context wise, right, we have a 958 square foot, but actually this 958 square foot, depending on which block you are looking at and which unit, which stack it is, right, the layout could actually be very different. So one of it actually have an enclosed kitchen, whereas the other one, maybe it's a more unconventional layout where you have a longer living area that's also combined with a kitchen as well. Yeah. So if let's say we look at the transactions wise, we can see that, for the block 15 and 17 is actually within 1 km to the school, whereas the other blocks are actually not within 1 km. So these are prices that is transacted at launch before it becomes part of the 1 km radius, right? And in terms of price difference, you see that it's not actually that much of a difference, right? So like block 15 and 17, even though it's like within 1 km, the higher floors are selling cheaper than the lower floors in like block 27 and 31, which is actually like, out of the 1 km range.
Yep.
Okay.
Right.
But let's say we fast forward to today or period after TOP, for example, when now people know that, hey, certain blocks within this development, right, is actually within 1 km. We want to see whether do people actually pay more for these units, right? So you can see that for block 17 at level 9, you can see that same floor, but block 17 is actually cheaper than block 31. Okay, so if let's say we were to follow back the same theory that, hey, if let's say we are within 1 km, it should actually command better pricing. We don't really see that happening at Woodleigh Residences, even though these blocks are the ones that, within 1 km.
Yep.
Yeah. Even for 2025 as well, you can see that, for similar floor, block 15 is actually cheaper than block 27. Yeah. And similarly for the other transactions as well, for block 15 and block 17, where your similar floor and block 17 is actually cheaper than block 27. Yeah. So of course there are certain differences in the sense that why do people offer much more for certain units in the area, even though maybe you are like the same floor. So besides being 1 km to the school, right, there are some people who buy not for that reason, right? And perhaps they price other things more, like maybe the facing of these units, right? And maybe the layout of these units.
Correct.
So as mentioned, there's 2 layouts, right? Some layouts actually appeal more to other buyers versus the other group of buyers. And that's why you see a price difference.
Yeah.
So a lot of factors are, in play over here. And school, you can see that school doesn't trump all other factors lah.
Yes, correct. So for Woodleigh Residences, what we notice is a little bit different, right? For context, block 55, 56 is more inward looking. That means it's looking at the Bidadari Walk and then the Woodleigh Mall Kopitiam side. And then stack 7, stack 5 is all facing the main road. So this could also be a factor. Again, like what Ify said, people who are not looking for school, it doesn't matter to them. Facing quieter is better. And then for the block 31, I think some people really like that kind of layout, so they prefer to buy something at that kind of higher pricing. Okay, so again, school should not be a main consideration. There are definitely other factors as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we take a look at the last example, Tao Nan School.
Yeah.
Definitely one of the more popular one, because I remember I do all the TYS from Tao Nan. It's very difficult. So yeah, should be quite smart one lah. Okay, so Tao Nan. Again, back then, before the whole change, actually Silversea was out of that 1 km range. But only after 2022, you will start to see out of 4 blocks, these 2 blocks, which is block 50 and 52, is actually part of the 1 km already. So again, we're going to take a look. This is a slightly older development lah, right? Not as new. So that's why we're going to see before the homeschool distance change that was announced. This was the pricing that was transacted. So you can see actually the pricing between the blocks, right? 52 and 48, 50 and 48, 52 and 46. Not too much of a difference. Difference only about 50 and 70k. And this was in the resale market already. Now, fast forward after the change, was there any changes? Again, even after the HSD change, block 52 and 50, there is still not much of a difference. You can see actually these two, it's almost the same price, and block 46, lower floor, is actually transacting at the same price, right? Block 52, transacting actually slightly higher than Block 48 only. So really the premium is not too much of a difference. Yeah. All right. So again, now back to the question. Does being near school make me more profit? Not necessarily. We have seen many examples that is actually not. So again, while it can be a bonus but it really shouldn't be the main consideration of property investment, right? It should be more holistic. Investing, we should consider a lot more things like what Evelyn has been sharing. Is really, number one, take a look at the entry price. Number two, we need to see the surrounding comparison and benchmark. Are we paying at the highest? Are we setting a new benchmark for the area and all ?
I think why we always look at resale pricing, at the end of the day, when the house is ready upon TOP, right, you're going to be competing for demands from these resale homes as well.
Yes.
And you kind of want to understand, right, besides school being one factor, how do you stand as a unit on its own, and also the pricing as well. I think a lot of people can be quite price sensitive when it comes to buying a home, and you kind of want to know where your units stand, right?
Yes.
So yes, having a school is an extra bonus, but just because you have a school, it doesn't really give you assurance that, hey, you're going to earn extra 100K more compared to someone that maybe enter without a school, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and of course, if you're paying extra for a school premium, it's always a question mark whether you can recoup back this extra premium from your resale buyers next time. Yeah.
Right. Okay, so with that, we have come to the end of this episode. I hope it has been helpful for you guys, right? So if you are, again, in a situation thinking about your next move, or like we talk about holistic considerations, right? What is holistic considerations? Please feel free to reach out to us. You can just scan a QR code. We'll have someone to reach out to you, and we are happy and we are excited to speak with you as well. Okay? So with that, we've come to the end of the episode. My name is Zach.
My name is Evelyn.
See you in the next episode. Bye-bye.